Hey, everybody, welcome in. It is orange and blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason, and we're on our new studio gigs, Mace. We keep promising big things popping, so here we go.
Yeah, the nice new digs. You've seen them on Coffee Break. We're here doing the show from this new spot. I kind of like it. It's actually good doing this in person.
Yes, I like it as well. We need a green screen, though, so we can go rope and ride Broncos.
Howdy, y'all. Or maybe be magically whisked away to Delaware. Hi, I'm in Delaware.
Nothing good comes from Delaware. Anyway, what about the good news, I guess, for Riley Dixon and the Denver Broncos, and also some more punter news. You can't contain yourself because we've got multiple punter things to talk about.
I'm disappointed there won't be a competition. Or maybe there will be with somebody else, but it will not involve Corliss Waitman. Corliss Waitman out. Riley Dixon, the Broncos' 7th-round draft pick back in 2016, back in. Broncos signed Dixon this morning, and this afternoon we learned that the Broncos are rescinding their exclusive rights free agent tender to Corliss Waitman, and so that's it. Corliss Waitman, who very much was a Dwayne Stukes guy. Stukes, of course, last year's special teams coordinator. Obviously not in favor with the new coaches wanting some change here.
Right. And new coaching staff wanting to upgrade that special teams. And there's one thing that has become abundantly clear throughout this entire offseason, Mace, is the emphasis this team will have on special teams.
It will. But I mean, first, let's kind of talk about the punter thing here, because it's really interesting. With Riley Dixon, he was 11th in gross average and he was 13th in net average. Corliss Waitman, 20th in gross average, 16th in net average. It's interesting because you're talking about a bit of an upgrade, but this isn't a huge upgrade on the surface. And you'd think with Corliss Waitman, he's a punter that's going to get better because he just had his first full season. So in that regard, this is a really interesting move, but it also shows something that we're seeing from Sean Payton and the personnel moves the Broncos are making. And that is just, they're looking for different. Wherever they can make a change, they're making a change.
Yeah.
They're trying to do a transfusion here onto the roster. Not necessarily saying you're going from bad to great. Maybe sometimes it's just you're going from lower middle tier to middle tier in terms of punters, but they're looking for something different than what they had here. I mean, it manifests itself in the interest in Alan Lazard and Adam Thielen, right? They are just they're turning over rocks to try to make some changes around here.
And they're looking for those changes, whatever they may be, to the roster. We'll get to the wide receiver talk in just a little bit, but back on the punters, because I know you love it. This is a struggle for me, brother, but I'm doing it for you.
What do you have against punters?
Punters aren't real football players.
Punters are people too.
Yes, I know.
It's a skill.
It is.
If they weren't real football players, why is punting involved as part of the game?
Should punting be involved as part of the game?
What would you substitute it with?
Just get the ball to 20. Get the ball just anytime, whatever the average punt is, like put that back, make that where you start the ball.
So like you said, like the average punt's 43 yards. And so there's no chance of a block punt.
Right.
You're taking out block punts. You're taking out punt returns. You're taking about turnovers.
Do you not care about player safety?
I care about player safety, but I think we should have football plays involved.
Okay.
Right.
Get a jugs machine. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
I digress.
Do you not like kickers either?
No, oh God, no. No.
Wow. You are.
At least Brandon McManus is cool. Like we could talk about whether his skills are dwindling or not, but like he's a cool dude.
Man.
Yeah. I got something against special teams, but this team does not. And now special teams can be a weapon for this Broncos squad.
You're hoping that. I mean, one of the threads that is running through the Broncos moves so far is special teams capability. Mike Burton at fullback, Chris Manhertz at tight end, Tremon Smith, not just a returner, but someone who can be a gunner on your reviled punt plays.
Yes.
You would have no use for Tremon Smith.
On defense, he can play.
Yeah, he can play, but but he plays a lot more on special teams than defense historically. True. If you go by the snap counts.
True.
So he's more of a special teamer. And even bring back Alex Singleton. He's got some special teams background. Him, Samaje Perine is a core special teamer. I mean, you get beyond kind of the top pickups for the Broncos, and even like bringing back a Singleton, bringing back a PJ Locke. This is special teams having a huge emphasis. It's a high priority for Sean Payton. And we knew that the moment that he hired Mike Westhoff to be his number 2, his second in command, that was the tell of how important this was going to be given Westhoff's career and background.
Yeah, Parcellsian,
it is.
I believe is what you've said.
It is, because Bill Parcells operates under the idea that the first and best way to immediately get some improvement on a team when you're starting a rebuild is to upgrade the special teams.
What's your favorite football book?
Favorite football book?
Yeah, because I'm thinking I have Scouting Principles.
This is really old school.
And it's Belichick's dad who wrote it.
Yeah, and this is another old school one. It was the late Paul Zimmerman, who I know is, some people in Denver don't think highly of him because of what he said about, allegedly said about Randy Gradishar.
Right.
And his Hall of Fame case. But he wrote an amazing book that was called The Thinking Man's Guide to Pro Football back about, I think he wrote it like 50 years ago.
Okay.
So that's, it started there for me. Reading that many years ago.
Yeah, many years ago. Take Your Eye Off the Ball by my former friend Pat Kerwin.
Did I tell you that I told you that Kerwin?
Yeah, you saw him.
Yeah, he was at the PF Chang's in Indianapolis when I was there.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love him. I wish he liked me.
And a true story, as I was told, I missed Sean Payton at the downtown Indianapolis PF Chang's by a couple of nights.
Okay.
I mean, I think Sean Payton's got some tastes of the common people.
All right. That's good.
Yeah. PF Chang's, by the way, that is the one chain restaurant that I will stand for, as in Stan, STAN.
Yes.
Like, I love PF Chang's.
Orange and Blue today.
I'm like Mark Davis.
Yeah. PF Chang's. OBT, PF Chang's. I love it.
OBT, BFD, PFC.
KFC. I don't know. Anyway,
we're just going to double down on this.
Exactly. Just keep going, stacking it up. We're in studio. Things get crazy. Things get crazy with Peter King's Totally Not Monday Morning Quarterback Football Morning in America.
You have something against that naming, don't you?
I do. It's too long. Come on, Peter.
It's just Football Morning in America.
It's too long. Too long. I don't need to know. I know it's Monday Morning Quarterback.
Football Morning in America. Okay, that's nine
syllables.
Monday Morning Quarterback. Seven. So somewhere between
Seven's better than 9. John always better than Tony Romo. I rest my case.
Somewhere between 7 and 9 is where you have the issue.
Yes, 8 syllables. It just gets me.
Okay.
Montrell, Washington.
That's 5.
5. Okay.
What's his middle name, though?
I don't know.
Montrell Washington's still on the team.
Will he be come week 1?
We'll see. Well,
the emphasis on special teams says they're not happy with their special teams.
They're not, but Tremon Smith, as a pro, has only handled kickoffs for the most part. He hasn't been a full-time punt returner. So there is still, at this moment, a window for Montrell Washington.
Yes. Yeah. And as a window is for everyone except Corliss Waitman, I guess, you can continue to show improvement, which my final note on punters, I'll actually be kind, is they're not waiting around for guys to improve. They're not waiting around. There is more win now.
Mm-hmm.
I said it this morning. I don't know which part of coffee break, if you saw my yelling or my other yelling. Rachel, she's so gracious with me, but I was yelling about they're winning now. They're going to do their best. Yeah, I think it might have been after you left, but they're doing their best to win now. And the fact they get rid of a Corliss Waitman, you always feel bad for ERFAs because exclusive right free agents, here's their 2 options. They can either sign with their team or they can not play football.
Yeah, and it's a non-guaranteed contract.
Exactly. It's the worst thing to be in.
If you are if you're a franchise tagged player, you sign that, the money becomes guaranteed, right? You're going to get, unless they tear up the contract, but you are getting that. The ERFA, they let you go. There's no dead money. I mean, the Broncos have no further commitment to Corliss Waitman after letting him go. That's it.
Right.
It's tough business.
Yeah. And it shows also, to get your thoughts on it, is they're not going to wait around for Waitman to get better. He may get better.
Yes.
Hell, Riley Dixon got better when he left, right? Brett Kern's still playing, so if we talk about the punter woes for the Broncos, they've had some guys and they've made some mistakes, but this clearly shows Waitman can get better, probably will. They're not waiting around for it.
Yeah, Brett Kern just punted the Super Bowl. Britton Colquitt, I believe, punted another 4 or 5 seasons,
something
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He was in Cleveland. He was in Minnesota for a little while. And, and here Riley Dixon is. This is going to be Riley Dixon's 8th season coming up. And he just had his best gross average, which is that's what you do. The net is where coverage comes in, hang time comes in, etc. So he's basically somebody that you put him back there, you're not nervous. Like one thing that Corliss Waitman did struggle with, and Jerry Rosberg pointed this down the stretch last season, was the consistency. He ended up in a mid-tier place, but as we saw last year, he could be kind of all over the place. He was great in that week 3 game against the 49ers, actually what got one of Football Night in America, NBC's game balls for what he did that night. But then there were other times where just the hang time was off, and then he wasn't done any favors by Dwayne Stukes and everyone around him. So, but yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're not going to wait for you to get better. They're not going to be patient. It's why if you're Montreal, Washington, you'd better show some spark pretty much the moment you get out there for OTAs.
Yes.
You'd better show some spark, some competence, some ball security, because otherwise they're going to move on for you. They are not wedded to anybody who was around here. Look, they're taking calls on Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't mean they're going to trade them, but it means they're open to what they would perceive to be the right deal. They're not married to anybody. They're not even married to Russell Wilson, even though this year is about getting Russell Wilson right, because you don't want to have a huge dead money number going forward. They are not married to anybody on this team.
And you see them, checking in with Adam Thielen. That got people really divided yesterday. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, so I won't say much on it, Mace, but I want to pick your brain because just my mere suggestion of Adam Thielen and, of course, Mile High Monday. See, short, nice name, Peter King. Mile High Monday. I suggested hey, I think you should have taken a look at Adam Thielen. He's got 30 touchdowns the last 3 years. Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy combined 24 touchdowns. So I merely suggest Adam Thielen about 50% of my Twitter timeline. And Twitter is mostly the realm of the lowest common denominator, but
I thought that was the Facebook comment section.
Oh, that's the YouTube comment. But either way, about 50% of people said yes, should have got Thielen. 50% said no, he's over the hill. I know he's not what he used to be, but the Broncos were interested, and we'll see. They're looking for wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, they're interested in Alan Lazard. They were interested in Adam Thielen. And Thielen's interesting to me if the Broncos had brought him in, because there's a guy who could really be your possession receiver. He can still be that today. And and like you mentioned the touchdown total. He is effective in the red zone. He's got a nose for that area of the field. I thought, honestly, it was a great signing by Carolina to bring him in, especially when they're going to go with a rookie quarterback in all likelihood this year. They've got Andy Dalton there just in case, but Adam Thielen can be a rookie quarterback's best friend. And for Russell Wilson, not a rookie, but somebody who's looking to put things back together, I think he could have been Russell Wilson's best friend out there.
Right.
But so I'm with you. I would have tried to bring Thielen, and I think Carolina offered a better situation. But here, we always say, focus on what they do, not what they say. Now, there isn't much being said because there haven't been any press conferences for any of the new signings here. It's a little different, something that, we're all getting used to around here. But what are they doing? They're emphasizing special teams. They're building the offensive line, and they have shown clear interest in the wide receiver position, which tells you that they are not happy with the state of the wide receiver room right now. If they were, they wouldn't be interested in Adam Thielen. They wouldn't be interested in Alan Lazard.
And they wouldn't be necessarily, although you do take every phone call. I'm a guy who's if you're a GM, they're shopping. You don't need to shop anybody. But if someone calls you about Jerry Jeudy, you're going to listen.
Everybody has a price tag in this league.
Exactly.
Even Patrick Mahomes. Now, the price tag on Mahomes might be priced less.
Right.
But everybody's got a price tag.
Yes. Yeah. So, the Broncos are looking at wide receiver talent at the combine, having formal interviews. It was like Rashee Rice. I wrote about that on denversports.com. So we know that if they draft a wide receiver, even with one of their first picks in the 3rd round, I wouldn't be surprised.
They're looking at wide receiver and they're looking at tight end. Another position where they were talking to guys at the combine.
Right.
Yeah. Just saying. Focus on what they do, not what they say.
Okay, what they do, or what Peter King did on Totally Not Monday Morning Quarterback, was say Jarrett Stidham's the most interesting man alive.
Kind of.
The
most fascinating free agent signing in the league last year.
Fascinating free agent signing. Not for the Broncos.
The league. The whole league.
NFL, 32 teams, and Jarrett Stidham, we're number 1, I guess.
I kind of see his point, though. Why Jarrett Stidham would be fascinating. Because, first of all, look at the price tag. It's an average annual value of $5 million. $10 million over 2 years if he plays out the life of the contract. You had Gardner Minshew going to Indianapolis 1 year, $3.5 million. Sam Darnold goes to the 49ers 1 year, $4.5 million. Both of those two quarterbacks have considerably more robust resumes than Jarrett Stidham, who has 2 career starts. 1 terrific, 1 lousy. And that's another thing. Everyone mentions the great start against the 49ers last year in week 17.
But
Peter King mentioned it in his piece on Football Morning in America. Does everyone forget that 6 days later, the next game, he got shelled? And this is often what happens when you've got a week of film to study a quarterback like Jarrett Stidham. You know, the Chiefs dissected what he did against the 49ers and then adapted. The result was a blowout loss, and I believe he was sacked 6 times by the Kansas City Chiefs. Some of that on protection, some of that on Jarrett Stidham. That's usually the way sacks work.
Right.
Not strictly on the offensive line. It's often on the quarterback. So that's the resume of Jarrett Stidham. And Sean Payton made Stidham a priority to pay him more on a per year basis than Darnold and Minshew and some others on the market as well, to completely bypass even investigating Jameis Winston or Teddy Bridgewater, quarterbacks they work with. So Jarrett Stidham was targeted by Sean Payton. So he sees something in him. And you could have pretty much any backup with more experience and you'd be fine. But Stidham, if something happens to Russell Wilson, if he struggles, and this is what Peter King points out, if the team is languishing, like let's say the Broncos are 4-6 and Wilson looks the way he did last year. Yes, Sean Payton will turn to Jarrett Stidham. Yes, he'll give him a look.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether you agree with it or not, that's another matter entirely, but he'll give him a shot. He'll give him a look.
And the Broncos can play good football instead of going to Brett Rippon where they weren't going to win anything. Like now you can win consistently with the Jarrett Stidham, you would hope. And what I love about free agency, it's almost like the draft redux. What is it? Redo?
Well, I think it's redo, R-E-D-U-X. I think it's redo because it would be of a French origin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Lammey is French. So
I did not know that.
Lammey we Americanized it, Lammey. So I'm Mexican and French.
So what was the original spelling of it? L-A-M-E with the
little and the
on there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I guess you didn't want to have the word lame be your last name, so you went with Lammey.
Oh, trust me, the Twitter trolls be like, "There's Cecil lame again." Like, okay, yeah, I got it.
That was a pretty lame joke in the second Anchorman movie.
That was I never saw the second Anchorman. It was one of those things. Like I had a buddy of mine say, "Watch Clerks 2." And I was like, I can't because I love Clerks 1. I lived Clerks 1, minus the dead guy in the bathroom. Like I worked at a gas station in college, right? Mm-hmm. So that was my life. And so I broke down. I watched Clerks 2. It's totally different. It's terrible in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I refused to watch Anchorman 2 because the first one was so good. I was like, I'm not going to ruin my first course with a lousy second course.
That's fair. I mean, Anchorman 2 has its moments, but I think you can go your lifetime without seeing it. You'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wayne's World 2 wasn't bad, though. We often quote
Wayne's World 2. Basically, what I say is with the Wayne's World, they got a terrific movie and a half out of it.
Yes, because they redid a lot of the same jokes.
Right. I mean, there were some new things, but like, I mean, there's one Wayne's World 2 line that I'll quote sometimes whenever I see Piccadilly Circus. Wow, what a bleepy circus.
Okay, it is orange and blue
Yes.
today. And like when we're in studio, it's gonna get nuts like this. So
Usually we don't get nuts until the end of the show.
Until the very end of the show.
Although we're getting close, I think.
We're interspersing it. Yeah, we'll get the high sign here to
well, where were
wrap
we
things up.
before we got?
We're talking about Jarrett Stidham. We're talking about playing good football, and we're talking about how like it's a draft redo, is what I was saying. Because as with Kyle Shanahan with Sam Darnold, Kyle Shanahan is like Sam Darnold for a while. In fact, I have it on pretty good authority that years ago they almost traded their first round pick, but the Jets wanted to wait for Zach Wilson's pro day. Now that report, even on Pat McAfee, was kind of shot down. I stand by my sources, per source, or whatever I have to say. And now guess who got Sam Darnold? The 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. Why? He really liked him. And if we rewind to Jarrett Stidham, we go back to his Auburn career before his final season. He was being talked as a potentially a number one overall pick. I remember talking about Stidham to DMAC the year before he was drafted, saying, hey, next year, watch out. The Stidham kid could be, we're talking first round. We're talking top 10, maybe number one. It's a Sam Howell situation. Sam Howell was talked about as a number one overall pick. What was he, fifth rounder last year?
Yeah.
Stidham, a fourth rounder. So Sean Payton maybe gets a little bit of a draft redo.
Yeah, it's really interesting on Stidham. I mean, because you mentioned what was thought of him, and it's his final season at Auburn was just okay. It wasn't great.
Right.
It was just okay. And I believe he did go to the Senior Bowl.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
And even though he was an early eligibility candidate, he'd graduated, so he went to the Senior Bowl, and then he slipped all the way to the fourth round, and when the Patriots picked him. But it's more common than I think a lot of people realize that teams look at their original scouting reports a few years down the line, and coaches look at that. So Sean Payton rewinds, thinks back to the evaluation of Jarrett Stidham, and also looks at kind of the direction he's gone in, which is, again, one good start, one not so good start. But as Rachel Vigil noted this morning on Coffee Break, like sometimes what happens is our initial impression of a quarterback or any player kind of taints the way we view them.
Right.
And Stidham, remember, got forced in during the COVID year at Kansas City, and he got forced in for the Patriots. And he was terrible. And it kind of doomed him in New England eventually, even though they didn't part ways with him until 2022 and let him go to the Raiders. But he did look better in the end some last year than he did with the Patriots. So you're getting somebody who probably has some untapped upside. I'm not sure Jarrett Stidham is a franchise quarterback, but if the team is struggling and Wilson is struggling, do they give him a look? Yes. I don't think they give him a look at the expense of getting a Caleb Williams next year, if that's the case. But I think they give him a look if things are going askew.
Well, and you had brought up Wilson perhaps struggling. I'll bring up what nobody really wants to talk about. I mean, just because, I don't know, luck-wise or whatever, but like Russell Wilson's going to have to run. Russell Wilson looks better when he's a running quarterback. He's not going to win from the pocket. He's not going to play 10 more years. So when he runs, now you're open to more injury. So if Wilson gets banged up, you can go to Stidham. Maybe he wins you a couple games. Maybe you keep him as so you don't lose your job to injury, except when you lose your job to injury.
And he's getting older, and he's running, and he has missed 5 games in the last 2 seasons, 3 in 2021, 2 in 2022. If you're asking him to do that, you're saying he's going to get hurt, and you build that into your planning. Jarrett Stidham, the chances of him starting a couple of games or more for the Broncos this year are excellent.
He's Andrew Mason. I'm Cecil Lammey. We are orange and blue today. Are you going to salute?
Yes.
Okay. Until next time,
we gotta do.
Be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned, and as always, stay frosty.